Maintenant, December 2022. Okay, let's start. So, as I finished last month in November, it was starting to be a complicated month for inspiration. I was a little stuck in where I wanted to go, finding an idea for new filters, new algorithms. And yeah, those 6 images on the left kind of reflect what's happening. I always have my device when I code, and one lens is facing me, the other is the other way around. But I found those interesting because I often use them to try to find new colors, new textures, geometries, looking for an idea, finally trying to get something that means something aesthetically or in terms of narration. As you can see, geometrically it doesn't always work. I'm kind of a sloppy coder in that sense. I prefer trial and error. Anyways, that was just to give an example. I try modifying things. I try to find ideas. And finally, something that was kind of growing on me was this radial fading, as we can see on the last 2 images. The one below right and the right vertical one was the finger and the keyboard behind. So that was basically the birth of the Herate insaturator creative filter. Here it's 3 images because I like to test them on the streets. If you've seen the previous videos, I always go from basically the lab to the real world. Wasn't yet convinced with those 3 pictures, so I still didn't integrate at that point variator, parameters and things like that, but kind of worked, but didn't feel it was yet mature in terms of textures. But yeah, 3 of the early examples, and got quite stuck conceptually. I had no real idea where to go after. So went back to photography. That's the whole main point of developing those apps at first, was for my personal use, my personal photography. So let's go back to testing old algorithms, like here with using Digital Paula, using the random parameters with some are fixed or all fixed parameters. Digital Paula is the only app of my set of apps that uses the new image generation engine, which makes it really faster in terms of user experience. But it's lacking a few things yet, and I don't integrate it yet in the other apps. But it's actually this month I used it a lot because I kind of like the way it reacts. And it also saves the original picture from the sensor, the unframed copy, and the framed copy with information on the filters. As you can see here, there's the miniatures are the framed copy with information. So Digital Paula offers a few things extra. Here again, 2 pictures. Also, travel helps inspiration. I travel quite a bit. I'm not sure it's very good in terms of CO2 overall impact, but I try to minimize it. But still, travel is a good source of inspiration. And so, trying those random effects and trying to memorize some moments and some feelings of what I saw using those random filters. And here are a few examples of things that kind of worked out for me, trying to find new inspiration. And yeah, while I was still coding, I'm not going into the details of the code, but I was starting to work on some kind of textures. And this picture actually is one of those examples. I try sometimes my experimental bits of code, which I don't feel are ready for anything yet. But here, that's one of the results. I kind of really like that texture. That's really the beta version of one of my code snippets. And yeah, and then what do I do with it? Where do I go? So back to the random generator here of Digital Paula, trying to find new things. Here, working with an old insaturator, the square insaturator with random parameters. Again, sometimes you don't know. Depending on the variables, the randomness of the parameters, there might be some new artifacts I didn't plan on, or new aliases from mixing algorithms together in ways I hadn't expected. So that could be a source of inspiration. Then also those 4 images, I like to use the experimental editor of the Camare app. You take a picture, then when you tap on the preview image, you go to this experimental editor that lets you do multi-exposure and rework the same image with other parameters, new, different insaturators and filmulators. Trying to feel the picture on the left. That's actually the raw image from the sensor. iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's starting to get old, but it's a perfectly good iPhone. And then 3 versions, which I kind of liked, and tried to figure out what expressed most to me, what felt best, and if that could be an inspiration for me to know where to go with my new code, my new algorithms. Here's those 3 images. That's in Iceland. This circular fading border is starting to really grow on me because I always really practice a lot my new algorithms, and it's growing on me. So, and also I like using those apps when I'm in places which mean something. So, going to a bar, drinking something, having a social gathering somewhere, going into a public space is often also a source of inspiration. There's travel, there's the randomness of my parameters, and also simply seeing people, meeting people. Here another picture which I do like the texture. That might be a good inspiration for a future. Actually, here I was really looking for something to do with the work at the point I was with, but good inspiration for something else probably in the future. Again, here, people are always a great inspiration. They express things that I really find interesting. Again, bars, the same bar in those 2 pictures, but which I really felt made for a valid souvenir. It really felt, for me, it felt like this. And that's where those algorithms, even though they're digital and they really transform a lot the image, they actually relay what I felt. Here again, another place, another public space. So the photo in itself is not very interesting, but it's a great way for me to relay what I felt for this souvenir. That's one of the museums of art in Reykjavik. They have a great cafeteria, so that's the most interesting thing I think in this picture. Great coffee, great desserts. And actually this fading border, again, that's the Herate insaturator. Definitely has grown on me. I really like it. I kind of like the way the texture underneath is expressing itself too. It's making sense. I'm slowly being convinced of it. This new mean of fabrication of an image is interesting. You have to let yourself be convinced, not force yourself into it. That's my process. And again, when you have exceptional moments, just live them. That's a major thing. It's the photo is not the finality. It's first you need to get into the moment, and then if it's really exceptional, like here, that was in the Bay of Reykjavik, incredible weather, some snow on the glaciers far away, but really sunny, beautiful sky, pretty cold, but took a few pictures, trying to memorize those exceptional moments, and also here on those 2 pictures, trying to see if some of those algorithms mixing together would bring a plus or make it more lifelike. Sometimes it works. And here again, those 2 pictures, going back to random mode with Digital Paula. It's interesting. You don't say the same thing depending on what filter you use, and I really think that's one of the major ways I find inspiration to finalize a new algorithm. Here again, I wasn't watching the World Cup, but that was World Cup's months, and people were watching it in the bar I was in, and that's a great moment for me to try those filters. And if the souvenir is respected, if it's respectful of that moment to me, and I feel it can express well the mood that was around, then I think it's good. I think that's success for me. And yeah, again, as I was saying before, this Herate algorithm really grew on me. I kind of had to extensively test the textures with the variators, and so here are 3 examples of doing this. See if it works. Again, it's really an artistic process. It's not that scientific and objective, and gladfully. Would be boring otherwise. Here, 2 pictures. Again, this month was really complicated for me in terms of code. Wasn't inspired at all. I didn't feel very motivated I didn't really know how to finalize the new filmulator, the new insaturator. Didn't have new ideas. I had a few new ideas, but nothing really concrete. I didn't really know how to start them in terms of code. And yeah, going back to random in those cases, walking around, street photography. And here 2 examples I find really extreme in the range of what they can say. It's the same picture, basically. And using those new insaturator Herate and Adav 200, going back to the randomness of those mix of older filters and seeing which one brings most emotions to me. That's a great way for me to go further, to go forward. So back to code. 3 pictures. Here are the 2 pictures, middle and left. That's obviously my computer. Lots of warning on the screen on the left. But yeah, here I'm working on this Adav 200 filmulator at that moment, trying to make it more analog looking. And yeah, on the right, that's was another filter. But again, the importance for me in the process to go out and experiment in the real life, the richness of the image when you go out and enjoy the moment and just take a picture of something you like, is a great. It makes for great conditions to test your algorithms. Here again, 2 random tests. With what has already been done with various insaturators and filmulators. And also when I'm stuck like this month where I was really not in a dead end, definitely not, but I have to use everything possible to find some leads to something new. And so I've been working for a while on conceptualizing an editor app, a standalone editor app. And I have the privilege to have one for myself, which I test a little bit. And here I decided to test some algorithms on a picture taken with another type of camera. So the picture on the left, that's taken by a Leica SL2 with an APO Telit 180 millimeter f3.4 lens, and going through the filter buses, the computational photography transformation. I think it works independently of the device you use to take a picture. So something's going to come up. It's not going to come very soon, but it will come up. I will come up with a separate editor. But yeah, that's sometimes something that helps me distract myself from the lack of inspiration. Here's 3 pictures. Testing this Herate insaturator with Adav 200 filmulator in different conditions. Basically, the subjects aren't that interesting. Yeah, maybe the middle one was the sunset at 2 p.m. in Iceland in December, in Reykjavik. But the soup in it's well, nothing interesting, and this blurry screen, neither. But I like the texture, and that's part of my process. And again, this month has really been about trying to find new leads using random presets. 3 presets using Camare to try to find that new energy. Here, testing Adav 200 filmulator with the RDR insaturator on the left and middle and right, that's Herate. Back to random, testing multiple iterations of transforming one specific image to try to figure out, do I want to go more into digital matter granulation artifacts or towards something more organic in my new code to be. So you have to test. It's really a central process of trial and error, and going back to the desk, the working desk. Again here, same thing. Do I really want this for the future versions of my filters or newer versions? Do I want to go for something smoother, like on the picture on the left, more analog-like, or something more granular, like that really exploits the digital artifacts of image compression, or something more contrasty, like the picture on the right? All questions I try to answer by reiterating the photographic filtering process. And finally, that month of December, I didn't get really anywhere in terms of new insaturators or filmulators, so I just added 4 new frame skins. Frame skins are a mix of borders and texture transformation for the pictures you make with my apps. And here I decided to do one for each creative pack and one by default in the app. Not very interesting, but that at least I was able to bring something in production, and these 4 packs are available in Camare, and I felt I did something concrete. But hopefully the month of January will be better. I think I have some new leads now. All this process in that weird month kind of were fruitful, but we'll have to see in next month's edition. And don't hesitate to post comments and questions below. And see you next time.